Grimme, and I'm running to be the next Chief Justice of Will Rice College. Here at Rice University, we have a tremendous amount of privileges and freedoms associated with alcohol use. Within the residential college system, we have things like technical law. We have relatively soft rules associated with beer and wine. But it is important to remember what these things are. They are privileges that we have. Over the last months and over the last years at Rice, we have seen how failures to behave responsibly can affect campus-wide policies in this regard. Several years ago, when many students were transported on the night of Nod due to hard alcohol drinking, hard alcohol rules were changed across campus. Just within the last 2 months, a high number of transports at Duncan led to temporary bans of crawls and parties at Duncan. I, too, personally have seen the repercussions of failures to uphold responsible drinking behavior in my personal life. Many of you know I was rusticated for a semester. That was because I didn't uphold the expectations of the university, and as a result, lost the privileges associated with drinking. But what this means across the campus, because of these privileges, when we see that changes and failures at Duncan affect the entire university, it means that we have a shared responsibility to uphold these rules and these values. This comes down to the culture of care. This comes down to peer and personal leadership of these rules. We've all talked about the culture of care. We've all talked about having Will Rice be a place where we take care of each other and we watch out for each other. And I know that every single candidate running for CJ today would do a great job for that, but I believe that there are several reasons why I personally would be uniquely qualified to uphold the culture of care and to inform individuals about the rules. Of everyone running for CJ, I'm the only person that's actually been engaged in the drinking culture of Will Rice over the past several years. I'm the only person who's actually been around these kind of things. You know, as great as it is to respond to a noise complaint or something of that type, I've actually been around and taken care of people when they're drunk. I have been around and held people's hair as they've been throwing up. I've watched out and seen when people are getting too messed up off of things and being able to personally intervene. And it's great to be an AJ, and I'm sure that Jake and Jared are incredibly responsible in that regard. But I believe that my personal experience, finding ways within the drinking culture of Will Rice to make sure that people are safe, doing things like drinking water, taking care of other people, meaning that I, from the very beginnings of O Week, will be able to build a culture at Will Rice that will take care of one another, within the reality that we know that there is going to be drinking going on at the university. The second reason why I believe that I'm uniquely qualified is my experience with SJP. Again, I have a personal experience of going through this process. I know what it's like when you break the rules and what happens. I know what happens when you break the rules. I know the consequences of it. I left Will Rice for an entire semester, okay? And I can tell you that when I'm sending out emails to people, when we're saying things that, hey, on the night of public, you can't have hard alcohol, or on crawl stops, you can't be giving out hard alcohol to people that are too drunk, I'm speaking with the personal credibility of this is what happens when you fail to uphold the values of the university. And I believe that that is going to give you a credibility when speaking with people, when actually, yes, Jared, enforcing some of the hard alcohol rules on campus and some of the rules of parties. Because yeah, on top of noise complaints and other things, absolutely I am going to have to enforce the rules. And I believe, yes, the fact that I have been engaged in the drinking culture gives me credibility in that sense, but also the fact that I've personally seen the consequences means that when I'm going to be speaking to people, whether during O Week or otherwise, when I'm intervening in parties and things, that I'm going to be speaking from a place of this is what the consequences are. I have no doubt that either of the two previous candidates would do a fantastic job. But again, in going about building the culture of care, going about building a culture where people understand what the consequences are, not just this is what the letter of the law, the alcohol policy is, but this is how you deal with SJP. These are the consequences of failing that. I believe that I will be able to become a Chief Justice that will uphold the culture of care at Will Rice and make sure that this can be a safe and inclusive community for everyone. Thank you very much.
Any questions from the audience for Will? Okay, one question from the floor. A recent complaint this past year has been that Will Rice is too focused on alcohol, with parties going into the night and being disruptive. How would you address this problem?
Yeah, so as a member of EC over the past year, I've actually been engaged a lot in the conversation. Some of the recent changes associated with how we structure committees has to do with the fact that when we're building events and when we're setting culture for Will Rice, we don't want it to be the inherent expectation that there's drinking going on at the events. And I think that it's a very, very important conversation, and I'm very glad that it's one that Tommy has drawn out of this survey of all the Ricers to focus on. We had a conversation of events on Friday and Saturday night, things like what is even done, where you're going out to museums and other things on Friday, making events that people feel that there are fun and populated alternatives to drinking on weekends. I also think it's important to publicize events even during the week that again are not associated with drinking. In a week, again, the Chief Justice is not going to be an advisor, but from the very beginning, the Chief Justice is going to be setting the tone of what the drinking culture is at Will Rice. And from the very beginning, as Chief Justice, I know that I would present drinking at Will Rice in such a way to emphasize that it is optional, and it is not a core part of our culture, and that there are many, many people, including a lot of my friends, who choose not to drink for various many reasons, and they are very engaged in the culture of Will Rice.
Okay, give a hand for Will Grimme.